Mark?
Well, I don't agree with downsizing from 55% lot size to 45, I believe. I don't believe we should restrict homeowners from making changes to their homes. But I think the problem with the Baseline Mansionization Act and all that stuff is it's too little too late. You know, it's 8 years into this guy's career now as a city councilman. And there was a huge flaw in the first one. They put a loophole in it. And now they're trying to cover their crown with political cover with this new one. That's how I see it.
Paul?
Well, first of all, the original year ago or so Baseline Mansionization Ordinance was too weak. Right before I got there, I actually testified in opposition. But I've had to step in and provide the leadership citywide for this issue because giant boxy homes have been built and have been ruining neighborhoods. So I've tried to find a compromise in each community that works for the community. I think overall in this area it's going to wind up at the 55, not the 45 level.
Jesse?
I think that I largely agree with, well, one of the problems that we have is that there has been a failure of leadership on this issue. There was the BMO, and it took 8 years for them to figure out that it was not restrictive enough. And what ended up happening is the horse has been out of the barn. But to your specific question, now there's been such a vested interest in the fact that the BMO was in place for 8 years and people's property values went up, that it should be taken into account as an interest to be balanced. And in particular, the trapped house problem, where there's a small home between two really big
Jesse,
homes.
I'm going to cut you off, but I have a follow-up question so we can add it in on that. With the impending implementation of the R1 zoning variations across large residential areas, would you be willing to work with individual HOAs to further tailor the zoning adopted for their area to better accommodate their needs? Yes or no? Let's start with Jesse.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes, of course.
Mark?
Yes.
Okay. Follow up to that, would you consider it appropriate to review the impact of the zoning changes on each neighborhood, and what criteria would you use? Or when would you consider it appropriate to review? Let's use the same order. Mark?
Well, I do agree with that premise that we should review them, and I think it should be done as soon as the application goes into the system. As soon as possible, the neighborhood councils and HOAs should be notified, and it shouldn't, honestly, it shouldn't just go to 500 people around the area with a mailer. These projects, all of them, need to really be brought to the attention of the people, and I think that's why they should televise city council meetings, because a lot of these, government is not transparent enough anymore. You have to go to a website to find all that stuff. Nobody goes there anymore.
Thank you, Mark.
And,
Paul?
Yes, well, again, I've had to lead on this issue. It's not something we've just done today. It's happened over the course of several years because it's a complicated issue and a lot of people are on different sides of it, so we've had to take everybody's temperature. This will be passed. It has to be passed by March 27th, otherwise the ICOs expire. But nothing's permanent, so we'll give it a year or so. We'll see if we made a dramatic misstep, either too much or too little development in one particular neighborhood, and we'll have the ability to adjust.
Thank you, Paul. Jesse?
Will you repeat the question one more
Yeah.
time?
When would you consider it appropriate to review the impact of the zoning changes on each neighborhood, presuming these changes pass? And what criteria would you use?
Yeah, there needs to be ongoing monitoring. I think one of the things that's clear from the ICOs is depending on how restrictive or non-restrictive they are, more development, more investment happens in the neighborhoods that are less restrictive. And so that's a problem because that neighborhood sort of gets slammed really, really badly. So we need to have ongoing monitoring of this issue so that we can make sure that no neighborhood is overly impacted and overly developed.
Just to follow up, a quick follow-up, in terms of the concern over devaluation because of building smaller houses, and also to the city coffers because of less money collected for building smaller homes, how would you propose we review that situation? And let's go in the same order. Mark?
repeat that one more time.
Meaning that we were talking about, the first question, we talked about reviewing, we talked about devaluation or potential devaluation or increase. So what would be your suggestions of how you would measure that, or do you think that's even part of the equation?
You know, I think everything needs to be part of the equation. When you're talking about people's homes, their real estate, that's their primary asset. So I think you have to be very sensitive to the concerns. As far as devaluation is concerned, I would propose any project that would completely negatively devalue somebody's home, like taking it from 55% building floor area to 45%. I just wouldn't do that. But devaluating somebody's house and say, well, you're going to lower the value, well.
Well, I'm not sure I totally buy into the devaluation assumption. I think by not allowing people to build ugly boxy homes, by requiring some articulation above a certain height, by requiring that there be an articulation in the side yard, and that you can't just build a straight side yard, I think that will actually add value to the neighborhood. And it'll add value to the neighbors that live next door to some of these giant projects. I think we've reined it in. I don't think we've gone overboard. We're still listening to exactly where we land in a few days and taking feedback from the community. But I don't think we're going to be devaluing anyone in the community.
Time, thank you. Jesse?
I think that, I think that if you can build less on a particular lot, then it does devalue the home, because you can build less. You can have a four-bedroom instead of a three-bedroom. But what also devalues the home is when you're next to a giant house. And I think one of the people who are really feeling the squeeze is when I walk the neighborhood of Beverlywood. There's some small houses between two really big houses. And those people, if they're now going to be brought down from a higher FAR to a lower one, they really kind of get screwed.
Time.
So I would propose an exception certainly for those homes.
We have a homeowner question. Beverlywood community has been working to balance some neighbors' concerns about mansionization with others that do not want their square footage as strictly limited as it has been proposed. One of the compromises that came out of that negotiation was a 200 square foot exemption for front-facing garages. It has come to Beverlywood's attention and Cheviot and CCCHA that Councilmember Koretz is considering introducing a motion at council that would remove that 200 square foot exemption entirely. Can each candidate address if they are in agreement with this 200 square foot reduction? And Councilmember Koretz, can you please address whether or not this is true? And if so, how do you respond to concerns if you're going back on your word? Paul, we'll start with you. 45 seconds.
Sure. I am still considering that. I don't believe I ever promised anyone that I would never consider anything other than the 200. I think it's also a moot point. I don't think my council colleagues are that interested in even considering this issue. I think they feel like we've made a deal to come up with something that's a reasonable compromise citywide, and that we shouldn't mess with this any further. So regardless of what position I wind up taking, I think there's very little chance that that will actually pass.
So just for clarification, are you going to make a motion to eliminate that 200 square foot exemption?
I'm still considering that possibility.
But you don't think that it will pass?
I would be shocked if it passed.
Jesse, 45 seconds.
I don't know if it'll pass or not, but I do know that some people have been promised that he would introduce this motion, and I've seen email communications to that effect. Then I've seen email communications on the other side of people who said, well, he said he wouldn't do that, and another group was promised the opposite. So I think this is one of the issues that we face, is a lack of transparency. And over the weekend, I confronted the current council member on transparency and creating a transparency commission under the 2020 report. And he said that we don't need more transparency in Los Angeles. So I think this is a real issue, and something that we need to do a lot better in CD5.
Mark?
Well, I support the specific plans, and when it comes to this exemption, I think whenever you talk about this type of an issue, you've got to go to the neighborhood councils and the HOAs and hear them out. I personally think that the neighborhood council should have a vote on the city council as a full body, one vote, just like a council. I think it sounds like a radical idea. I also think we need to increase funding in the neighborhood council so they can put more sushi out, so you guys will start coming to meetings and learning from people speaking on the issues, but that's a whole other issue. So I think I would go to the people on this issue and most issues like that. But at the same time, you've got to remember, sometimes developers come in and raid these neighborhood councils and push their projects through, and you got to know when that's happening.